Thank you, Mr. President. Last week, President Putin of Russia ordered 100 to 200,000 Russians across Ukraine's border. Air raid sirens rang out, bombs rained down. Russia declared war on Ukraine, the first war in Europe since 1945. Putin's terror is hard to watch. We've all seen it on television in real time, but it's important we not look away. Amid it all, we are seeing examples of heroism, hearing stories of strength. Early in the fight, Russian warships called for Ukrainians to lay down their weapons on the small Snake Island. Ukrainian fighters answered with a bold response that has reverberated like sort of a drumbeat of defiance across the country. Since then, we've seen Ukrainians embody determination in the face of desperation, all in the name of freedom and love for their country. A Ukrainian Marine sacrificed himself to blow up a bridge near Kyiv so that Russian tanks could not cross. And all the while, President Zelensky of Ukraine has stayed. He has not abandoned his country, even though he knows Putin's goal is to topple the Ukrainian government. All this knowing, President Putin of Russia has sent over assassins to eliminate him. He planted his feet, squared his shoulders for the fight, rallying his fellow countrymen to do the same. And Ukrainian citizens are following suit, showing true bravery in the face of madness. As the Ukrainian government began to hand out weapons, thousands and thousands lined up to receive them, men and women. Volunteers, ordinary citizens are adding to the resistance. Men and women, young and old, coming from all backgrounds and walks of life, all to defend freedom and democracy in their country. It's clear Mr. Putin underestimated the Ukrainians' will to fight. While Ukrainians are handling Russia's tough fight, we know there will be hard days ahead. Mr. Putin's rationale for invading was, quote, demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine, arguing that if Ukraine joined NATO, the West would have an excuse to invade Russia. That is paranoia. That is delusion. That doesn't sound like a strong leader. It sounds like a weak leader. Putin was betting that NATO would fold and countries would turn against one another. But if anything, Mr. Putin's bullying has strengthened NATO. Last week, Germany halted the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and now, in a somewhat surprising about-face, Germany is agreeing to send weapons to Ukraine. This is not only frees up other countries to follow suit, but also reverses their historic policy of never sending weapons to a conflict zone. Over the weekend, the U.S. joined with the European Commission and Canada, France, United Kingdom, Italy, and Germany to ban select Russian banks from SWIFT. By limiting access to this international payment system, we move closer to a goal of further isolating Russia. Additionally, the group leveled sanctions on the Russian central bank, paralyzing assets and freezing transactions. At least 26 NATO countries have either independently issued sanctions or joined the EU sanctions. Since the invasion, the United States has not only imposed economic and financial sanctions, but we have also authorized $350 million in new military aid to Ukraine, including anti-tank, air defense capabilities, and the State Department has sent millions of humanitarian aid. And we're now seeing an inflection point for other countries. A time for choosing countries like Sweden, Finland, Kosovo are all voicing a desire to join NATO. They're choosing to align with the West. So in a moment of apparent frustration over the past few days, Putin ordered his Russian nuclear deterrent forces to be put on high alert in response to what he calls aggressive statements from NATO leaders and the West's financial sanctions. But I ask this question, why? Why were all these sanctions not presented 6 months ago to possibly deter this aggression and save tens of thousands of lives? We were late. As it currently stands, this is not a fight for the American troops, but if a NATO country is threatened, we will and do need to act. Facts could change, therefore policies have to change, which is why we need to continue to impose harsh financial sanctions and project strength during this very ugly situation. Another step we must take is to regain energy independence. We import nearly 600,000 barrels of oil a day from Russia. The Keystone Pipeline would have provided us 800,000 barrels per day. Ahead of the invasion, President Biden admitted, quote, defending freedom will have costs for us at home here as well. But the irony is Americans aren't just now feeling economic strain as we begin to, quote, defend freedom through sanctions on Russia. Gas prices began to soar long before Mr. Putin waged war in Ukraine, starting with the president's first day in office when he blocked the Keystone Pipeline and undercut our nation's energy independence. Russia ramped up aggression against Ukraine at the same time as the administration was canceling 80 million acres of oil and gas leases. Green policies here at home have pushed us to seek energy abroad, and our country is paying a huge and hefty price. President Biden has again admitted that we might need to dip into our oil reserves, but why not dig into the oil reserves? Dig our own oil. This is no time to be a purist and think others can bail us out. The United States of America is an energy-rich nation, but we must have smart policies in place to use it. This is an economic and a national security issue. You cannot have a strong economy without low energy cost. And ridding ourselves of a reliance on Russian energy is a matter of national security. What happens in Ukraine matters, but so too do our actions here at home. So as our country prepares to hear from President Biden tonight on the state of our union, I urge the President to project a strong path forward, to double down on investments in our military, and to put forth policies to ensure we regain our energy independence. If the state of our union here at home is strong, it will only serve to strengthen our standing abroad. Mr. President, I yield the floor.